And today is day 27, and as was the case with every day before that, there is no end to the government shutdown in sight. Also, no sign that the residents of Arizona will see their newly elected member of Congress sworn in. Keep in mind, she represents the signature that could force the release of the Epstein files. Scripps News congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed is live on Capitol Hill right now. And shutdown day to day 27. Is this now going to go into November?
Well, look, I think the fact that SNAP funding is now in question, the fact that many states could run out of funding for the next month, that is certainly a pressure point and something that even top Democrats were telling me up here on Capitol Hill that might cause them to rethink their strategy so far. Now, Democrats have kept up this fight for Affordable Care Act subsidies, which expire at the end of this year. Americans on November 1st, the end of this week into next week, be able to go online in many states, see on their healthcare exchanges the increased cost of healthcare that's happening once these subsidies expire at the end of the year. Ultimately, Democrats were hoping to reach some sort of agreement before reopening the government on expanding these subsidies, preventing them from expiring, keeping the cost of health care lower for many Americans. But at this point, not clear that they're going to win that fight. Democrats, again, have been holding out for that. And they've largely felt like they have a lot of people behind them, a lot of Democratic activists. The unions, to some extent, have been behind them in this fight for health care, putting out statements, showing up at rallies and kind of events to try and compel the Trump administration negotiate on these Affordable Care Act subsidies. But there are some indications now that they're starting to form cracks in that facade of support. The American Federation of Government Employees putting out a statement this morning, quote, "It's past time to end this shutdown." The national president saying, quote, "It's time to pass a clean continuing resolution and end this shutdown today. No half measures and no gamesmanship. Put every single federal worker back on the job with full back pay today." What's interesting about this, Del, this is pretty much exactly what the Republican position has been, trying to pass this full government funding bill that, again, Republicans say frequently doesn't contain any of these policy riders, doesn't do anything to necessarily change this nation's healthcare situation, but at the same time doesn't make any meaningful, massive cuts to government spending. Ultimately, Republicans now using the line from the unions to hammer Democrats. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson this morning.
It's a union, you know, and they represent such a large amount. There's 1.4 million federal employees. They represent 800,000 of them. They understand the reality of this. These are federal employees. Many of them watch carefully what happens here in the halls of Congress. They know that this whole thing by the Democrats, the entire shutdown, is a charade, because they know, and anybody who pays attention knows, we always were going to arm wrestle over the remaining issues on the table this year. And they're tired of the distraction, and it's hurting their families, and people are suffering real hardships. They really are going to the food pantries out now to feed their families. It's shameful.
And look, Republicans have maintained that they'll have a negotiation about Affordable Care Act subsidies, but only once Democrats vote to reopen the government. Given all of the things that are now cascading, the fact the unions appear to be pushing away from the Democratic position, the fact that SNAP funding could expire in more than 24 states come November 1st, given this ongoing shutdown, the air traffic controller shortages, flight delays we've been seeing, so many federal workers forced to work without pay, a lot of questions about how long Democrats will keep this fight up, and if we could see some seismic change in at least the calculus being made by Democratic leadership here in Washington as this shutdown enters its 5th week, Del.
Scripps News congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed live on Capitol Hill. For us, Nate, as always, thanks for keeping us up to date.